So, for all the guests that I introduce on this show, I always try to dedicate 30 seconds, open up a runway, and introduce the guest. And I usually do it off the top of my head. But the person that I'm looking at right now, I've had to consult my notes many times because of all the accolades this gentleman has done. He is the Chief Strategy Officer at Revolution Brewing Company out of Chicago. You might have seen him recently on the Wine Enthusiast 40 under 40 list. He's helped out with Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago. Oh yeah, he's got a beer blog too. And oh yeah, he's on Instagram at Beer Aficionado. It is Doug Velicki on the show. I hope I said that last name right. Welcome to our show.
You nailed it. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be here.
I blacked out. Was that good, Jeff?
That was beautiful, Doug. Thanks for coming on. So, Doug, you're from Chicago. Well, you work at Chicago. Are you from Chicago?
I'm originally from Pittsburgh.
So you just love those cities, man. Those like blue collar.
Yep. I like to be punished all winter long.
Yeah. The Windy City.
Punished in weather and sports teams more recently. So I don't mean to
Absolutely.
open up that wound. So I'm sorry.
Who's your sports team? Like who you go for?
I'm a pretty big hockey fan and the NFL. So Steelers and Penguins.
Okay.
You had to carry that all the way to Chicago. You said, yeah.
I made it a good ways with the Pirates, and eventually around 2015, I swore them off and said, no more.
There was one point and then we'll stop with the sports tie, I promise. There was one point in the Pirates history. They had the greatest named outfield ever. Being the Pirates, to have Nate McLouth, Jason Bay, and Xavier Nady, they were all Pirate names. It was perfect. They were right there with Jack Sparrow. And I just thought that was like perfect. I'm pretty sure they drafted or signed those players only on their names. And then they happened to work out. That's my rant about the Pirates. That's the most knowledge I have of them. So what's Chicago beer like? Is it windier?
So the Chicago scene is an interesting one because it's, for a long time, it was the most distributed to city and probably is, meaning in terms of just like access to beer on the shelf, what you could find at the big wine and beer superstores, just the amount of choices. You'd find more beers in Chicago, partially just due to its central location, but just the history of the town always being a beer drinking town. There was really good distro here, but until around 2010, there was absolutely no beer scene other than Goose Island. And then if you cross the border into Indiana, not too far, there was Three Floyds. But there was just nothing like there is today. So what we have here is has come together pretty fast. Some cities are coming together much more recently, like my hometown of Pittsburgh. They didn't really see their boom until 2015, 2016, where they really started popping up fast. So, but the drinker here is very much old. I'd call them, it's much more of like an old school beer drinking town who loves like the brew pub style of exploring a lot of the like classic styles, much more than most cities. Like there's obviously craft beer enthusiasm everywhere and of every kind in every city. But here I feel like some of the older trends are like already coming back. Like the West Coast IPA was like first to make its comeback here, which kind of like started to fade away in the middle of the last decade. It's already making a big comeback here. And you see it starting to pop up a little bit more and more. But people here tend to like a variety of styles and not just want to drink, hazy IPAs all day or pastry stouts all day.
Do they like those fruited sours? How far away from beer can Chicago? What do you call it? Chicagoans? What do you call people from Chicago?
Chicagoans.
Chicago. How far away from beer can they get? At what point do they go, this isn't beer, but I'm still going to drink it? Or it's basically an alcoholic smoothie.
I think it depends on them age range you're asking. I think the crew that's like, under 30 or just entering their 30s is much more into the sweeter styles and I call them the Jamba Juice smoothie beers. Those are definitely a thing, but we only have probably, I don't know, 3 to 5 breweries that are really known for those out of, call it 200 that we have in the Chicago area. There's something for everybody here, any style, you name it, and there's a brewery here specializing in it. We do have a lot of breweries who do embrace specialization. Like we have 5 lager only breweries. It's not unheard of to have one, but to have 5 already is pretty significant. Breweries that are committed to lager only, and they do a great job of like differentiation and always having 8 to 10 different versions around, and they're beloved by our city. It's like the lager only breweries can do no wrong.
Sounds like awfully limiting.
Yeah.
They go for it, man. All right. Respect.
Yeah, they just try to own what they love and are good at, and don't try to cater to everybody, and realize they're not going to be for everyone. And so they carve out their niche, and in a way that could be what's, who's the most successful going forward, is someone who has a specific point of view and just tries to do one thing that can still be fairly broad, but do that one thing very well and get known as a master of that. And that's how you really get the case for that, is that you get much more loyal fans when you have a specific point of view.
Yeah, and I think Connecticut, there might be, I know one off the top of my head that specifies in German style lagers. They all were trained there and whatnot. It's East Rock, Jeff, for those. And there might be like one other, but I know that Notch, which is in Massachusetts, like that I know is a more traditional style. I feel like we're starting to see that pick up a little bit more, almost as a kickback to this anti-hazy, anti-adjuncted IPA or stout or insert beer style here. And you're seeing a lot of like traditional styles start to like come back a little bit. And I think whenever we talk to consumers, a lot of people are like, well, I really want pilsners and lagers and pale ales more so. And I think from like breweries, it's like, well, what's going to sell? And it's like, well, hazy sells hand over fist, like every single time. So I feel like it's always this stalemate of what the consumer says they want and then what they actually go for and have. And it's the same struggle in Connecticut. As someone who's a part of a larger company like Revolution, is that what you're also seeing? Where it's, do we want to go towards the traditional and cater to that? Or is it, do we make hazies and try to perfect what's good?
How weird do you guys get over there? You guys getting weird?
Yeah, we get a little weird. I mean,
Nice.
I think we make more barley wine than anyone.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty confident in that, or at least more types of barley wine in a given year, the most. So that's weird, or at least would be very weird if I told you that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try to do, I'd say we're most known for our IPAs. We were an IPA brewery, but we created a seasonal line that was our chance to have these beers that are there every year, but maybe aren't something that would sell 365 days a year. And that's where we plug in a lot of styles that we love and want to see, like a red ale, like a Märzen for Oktoberfest. We have a Belgian pale ale. We might be the only ones still hanging on to that style that we do in the winter. And so we have these kind of beloved seasonals that survive and continue to be successful for us because they go away and then they come back, and then people can look forward to them, associate them with the season. But we don't try to make it this thing that we shove down your throat all year round, because it just wouldn't work. And there's a lot of styles like that if done with restraint, you can have a lot of success with, but you need a bunch of them. You can't just, force the square peg into the red hole. Like if I was trying to sell a 8% black IPA like I'm drinking right now in July, I'd be out of business, and that just wouldn't work. So we're known for IPAs, and we have our seasonal line that's very, got a wide range of like spins on classic styles. And then we have, and we're a brew pub, so we have these beers we rotate in that are just like a lot of the classics, English styles. Those tend to not be in a can. That's more of just like what you'll see on tap. But most recently, we have gotten into the sour game and are doing really well with it. So we have a line of sours called the Freedom series, Freedom Sours, and they're 4.5%. They're not the Jamba Juice sours I was talking about. These are like as approachable as it gets, but using real fruit. And they've been a bridge for us to get wine drinkers and cocktail drinkers into beer, and really opened us up to a new consumer base because we have a great reputation and an awesome fan base in Chicago, but eventually you do kind of hit a wall if you keep continuing to do the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. So getting into sours and trying to make them as approachable as possible, not like what I was drinking 7 years ago, these barrel-aged sours that would, knock the skin off your teeth. Those aren't the way to introduce someone to a category. So we kind of went the opposite end and made them really approachable, focused them around different fruits. And those are doing incredible. And they have very little competition either. I think I checked like the data. If you look in like supermarkets and the big box stores and look at the sour category, in the last year, we're 56% of all sour sales in the state of Illinois. Just partially because there's not a lot of people doing it or not doing it at that big box consumer level. There's tons of small breweries who just sell their beer in small bottle shops or out of their tap room that are doing sours, of course. But we're trying to get it to that because of our size. We need more than just like the hyper engaged beer enthusiast that's like rocking on Facebook groups all day. Like we're too big to only hit that consumer. We have to get the people that are just enjoy craft beer, don't follow it on social media, don't care to that level, but love good beer and are happy to pay a premium for it and pick it up at the grocery store. That's where we sell a lot of our beer. But
it's humble brag. That was a nice humble brag. You slide it right in there. We're kind of a big deal. The rest of you can go suck it. And that's great stuff. We in Connecticut, we have a Facebook group called CT Beer Drinkers. And we like to bag on them because it's exactly what you just described. In one sentence, you nailed it. Is there like a Chicago beer drinkers?
There's a lot of them. There's like a Chicago barley wine chug drinkers, a Chicago stout chug drinkers. You name the niche of beer content you want, and there's a Chicago Facebook group for it. But no, I know what you mean. There's probably like 3 or 4 like really big ones with 6,000 to 10,000, maybe more people in it that have a lot of conversations going all day, every day.
Is that where you go to get your ideas for all your hilarious videos on Instagram? Is that just like you go there, like you're writing it for me, folks? Like just keep sending them my way, man. I get it.
So I finally removed Facebook from my world when we released our most anticipated release of the year, VSOJ, a barley wine we released over the summer for the second time. Literally over 100 people were treating my Facebook account as a revolution customer service. So I've gotten very into the TikTok world, and I'm just fascinated by TikTok. And so when I let that enter my orbit, I really needed to get rid of something as well, just to balance the forces and really my time. And so I just needed to delete something. And so Facebook was the one I used the least and the one that bugged me the most. So I just decided to walk away from it.
So you're not going to be joining the metaverse?
Not at this point, no.
You can live any life. You can live any life.
Nothing like not only having to be like taking DMs from people complaining about a brewery, maybe the beer was oxidized or infected or whatever you want to say, but to add another step to that, to have like a limited release on a barley wine, those kind of people, if they're mad and they're all like directing their feedback towards you, I can imagine can be a nightmare. So I give you credit.
This was more, this wasn't so much complaining that they didn't get it. It was like special favors, like, hey man, can you pick it up for me and meet me here? And I'm like, I don't even know you. I'm like, no.
Yeah, do you think this is DoorDash?
That's what this whole episode is. It's more of like you promote us, and then you also give us VSOJ. No, I'm totally kidding.
Yeah. Do you mind if we meet like somewhere in like Ohio or something, and then we can just like meet? That's like halfway, right? Like, what do we?
Yeah. I will not do that. I will not travel that far for any beer. Actually, you know what? Go for it. That was
so. Speaking of your TikTok fascination and on your Instagram, if you're not directly, you're just doing all those ideas you're getting right from your experience in the beer industry, right? So you're like, what I love is that you would nail the exact stereotypes of the type of people you get in the craft beer culture and it's not just about Chicago. It's about just in general, the like countrywide. Where you come up with this stuff, man?
So
It's life.
I am a beer geek. I mean, I've had a lot of beer trades. If I dug up my beer advocate profile, it would probably say like 75 lifetime trades or something like that. Now there's people in the thousands, so I'm not saying that's anything crazy. But I'm saying like I was submerged in that world, especially from 2013 to 2015. And so I still have many knucklehead friends who care about beer like they care about cryptocurrency and other things like that, and treat it the same way pretty much. And I just find it hilarious, and I just like can't get enough of these people. And many of these are customers of ours that I love. Just joke that I have a funny enough relationship with that they know if I throw jabs, it's only out of love. And a lot of it is like kind of me making fun of myself at the way I used to be and how obsessed I used to be, and then eventually kind of cooled off, got my job in the industry, which I still go to beer shops and buy hyped beer sometimes, or just like beer I'm excited to try. I drink a lot of other breweries beer and buy it with my own money and all that stuff. So I'm very much a super consumer in that sense, like them. But a lot of these videos start with me making fun of me and my direct friends. Just these are people I know. And so what I've really done is kind of created characters that I'm still kind of developing and still giving names to some of them. And so I have different hats or different jackets that represent a different goofball beer fan that there might be a piece of me in them. There might be a piece of one of my buddies, or just people that I run into or have conversations with at our beer releases that I think are hilarious.
That what I was saying before we started recording is that the reason why I decided to like just go down the rabbit hole of all the posts you have is because you actually create funny content. Like there's a lot of things in these groups that there's a beer called Wandering into the Fog. It's a whole series of like a single hop IPA series. And like when it first came out, I mean, we had a running joke on previous episodes of how many people who were middle-aged got it, would post a picture of the can and be like, wow, I can't see it, it's too foggy, and then just all the laughing emojis. Like it was the first time they heard the joke 10, 15 times. I couldn't handle it. And I'm like, we're better than this as a society. We can do a lot better. So I was on my, just the For You.
And we, though?
No, of course not. We're still making fog jokes. But anyway, I was like, wow, this is actually like funny. It's topical and it makes sense. And it actually plays to like TikTok trends. So it was like this holy trinity that came together. And that is like your page. One kind of burning question I've always had that I think I know the answer is around Smooge, which, if you don't know, people listening, is a smoothie-style hard seltzer that has taken the nation by storm. I did almost spend $40 for a 4-pack. I didn't. Came to my senses. Didn't. Doug is raising his eyebrows, which is fine. I didn't do it.
Where on earth were you about to spend $40 on that?
No comment. Moving on. Now, do you love...
We'll talk about this off air.
Now, do you love Smooge, or do you not like Smooge, but off air, you actually still love Smooge? What is your opinion on it?
And did you like it before or after you shotgun it?
I can't believe you did that.
So the quick story behind Smooge is I had never had it. I was curious by it, and I really wanted one can. I did not want 4. I happened to see a beer store get it, and they finagled me into thinking that it was like this one-time thing and it was going to go away forever. So I was like, FOMO set in. I was like, well, I better buy this 4-pack. So when I got in my car, I set it on my passenger seat and just took a picture of it. I don't think I put a seatbelt on it, but I took a picture of it and said, and I said something like, how I'm, mad at myself for buying this, and I'm going to be even more madder at myself when I like it, or something like that.
I remember this.
And the post just like blew up. At that time I did that, I don't think I was posting that many of these videos, and my account engagement, people into what I was posting about, was not very good. That might have been at least like 6 months ago, and people just thought it was hilarious. And the funniest part was that Smooge commented and then started like messaging me like troll messages, but in a like funny way.
Oh,
And
good
then
for them.
so that encouraged me to like keep making jokes. I do a lot of it on the stories, so you might not see it now because those come and go. But I do a lot of just like references to like Smooge kind of being my rival. And they're whoever runs their account, I have no idea who they are. They've just been like really good sports about it. And it's really
Yeah.
funny. And it's
Oh, that's great.
it's made me like the company Smooge because of whoever runs their account, I think is funny. And I think it'd be funny if me and that person like made some kind of content together someday to like play up the fake rivalry.
I would
So
love that.
I've
Balls
just
in
been
your
having,
court, Smooge. Balls in your court. Listen to this now. He wants to do a collab.
yeah, I've just been having fun with it, and I like their style. I do not enjoy the drink. I can drink it. It's just like 300 calories that I don't need in my day.
Fair
That's a good
enough.
answer. That's a very good answer. I kind of feel the same way. I kind of hate how much I like it. It's not sustainable. It's like having a Big Mac every day for dinner. It's like, yeah, you can have it once in a while, but if you have it every day, you technically could, but you probably shouldn't because you're gonna be very, very unhealthy. So good. Okay. I'm glad I got that settled because I was like, I don't know if it's like one of those things you hate to love or you love to hate. So I'm really glad I asked that.
I grew up watching professional wrestling, so I love the idea of characters with their own shtick and rivalries, whether real or fabricated. And I love the idea of like those existing in the social media world, if as long as both sides are actually having fun with it. Poking fun at different bears, I think is great. And
Yeah.
so I will continue to try to do more of that with Smooge and anyone else who seems to be a good sport about it.
Speaking of wrestling, I actually listened to Malkator. I think that show's pretty funny, and obviously Alex Kidd is he's been doing this forever, and he's a genius when it comes to all this. So I try to learn a lot just about the industry from the other side of the country. And I know he mentioned you were actually on like a box because last summer I think Revolution did like a whole wrestling series, and you were like the ref. Like you were like in the ring. I'm trying to find the photo and I can't for the life of me. I wish I had it pulled up. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, so we have this variety pack called the League of Heroes, and about a year and a half ago we start, and we rotate the combination of IPAs in it every 3 months or so, and then we started changing up the box every time we change up the characters, and then we'd make the imagery on the box kind of like a comic book where all the text is in the same place every time, but the feature image in the background is completely different, and it's different like pop culture reference. So one of the new beer we were releasing in this one was called Nelson Hero. So when we were, as a company, when we were talking about, okay, what should our hop character for Nelson Hero, what should that be? And I was like, full Nelson, it's got to be full Nelson. We got to go wrestling.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
And eventually we got everybody there. And so we made him this kind of Andre the Giant looking character holding up a fermenter. So at the last minute, nobody told me this, but I guess my boss the owner of the company okayed the artist without telling me to put me into the picture and made me the referee. So I don't know how clear the face will come through on this image, but it's a little blurry, but it actually does look like my face, the little guy in the corner there.
That's amazing. You're famous now.
Cool.
Look at you.
Yeah. I think that was awesome. There was a couple milestones that I wanted to achieve like early on in doing this podcast. One was to create a pizza style sour that I had found out that Tired Hands already did not well, and then I was like, well, let's pivot it to a lager with New Haven style pizza in it, and it's still waiting on an investor. So
As in, no one bought into this idea, Doug.
No one yet, Jeff, please. So I think if not that, because that idea is kind of wild and no one wants to like make a adjuncted lager because that's very contradictory. I do want my face on a label. That has been one thing since day one, to do something like that. And then I can say, you know what, that's it. I've accomplished what I wanted to do with this podcast. So is the artist that you work with, is that in-house, or is that like, do you have to work with an agency, especially with someone as big as Revolution?
Agency would be a strong word. We work with a guy who has a company of two.
An
They're called
agent?
they're called Mighty Few because there are
Oh,
literally
okay.
only two of them. And then because we don't always use the same artists, but like even our hero characters, we have two different artists that we like to use for different types. But it's really two guys that have been our one in particular who runs the place. He's been our designer from the very beginning. He's as close to an employee as you get, but he has his own, small shop, so he gets to run his own business. But I feel like I keep him busy like 80 hours a week. So I don't know how much else he has time to really do, but so not technically in house.
Okay, very cool. I was curious about that too. So then kind of more on Revolution as well. So you are the chief strategy officer. Wow, can't talk. The chief strategy officer. Still can't say that. Whatever, moving on. And I think what you've kind of explained in some of your posts, is it like a hybrid of like marketing and finance in a way? Is that the right way to kind of categorize it?
Yeah, so I'll make this really quick. I came up as an accountant. I worked at like a big accounting firm, was a CPA, and then found my way into when I wanted to get out of working at an accounting firm. The job I happened to take was with this company who's among many other things, the largest beer distributor in the country. So I started there at the beginning of 2009, right when the economy took a downturn, is when I started there, and because beer sales were doing just fine back then, so it was a great
I'm
place.
sure they will.
Yeah, it's a great place to land. So that's how I got my start sort of in the industry. I wasn't like hands-on doing beer stuff. I got to visit their beer locations, but they did all these other things too. So it was more like I had some decent exposure to beer, but I wasn't really in it. And I loved the job, and I worked there for 8 years. And during that time, I watched, craft beer become a huge part of the Chicago scene. And then it became a part of their business, and they became Revolution's distributor. If you're familiar with Half Acre, they're the next biggest brewery in Chicago. Mm-hmm. They saw the potential early for craft and the great brewers starting up, and they kind of took them under the wing to help companies like us and Half Acre grow. So craft beer became a big part of the culture there, and just office, people what we would drink, because it was a beer company. So there's always beer events and beer to drink in the office. I got the itch to work at a brewery. That's how I started this Instagram account back in 2013. I was like, I got to figure out a way to get into beer. So I'm going to show how into beer I am by starting this beer focused Instagram account. So
by calling yourself beer aficionado, that's a good start, man.
Yeah,
right there.
it was an aspirational.
I'm a pro.
It was an aspirational title.
I love it.
But yeah, so that, and then layering on the blog later. There's more stories behind that, but that's how I ended up kind of like building a tool belt of for my resume. And I always like to do things in an as untraditional way as possible. So not just having a resume, but having this kind of social media blog side to show, my perspective of the industry. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Put them on.
Merge the call.
So yeah, that's how someone at Revolution knocked on my door, literally on my Instagram account, sent me a DM, somebody I didn't know, had never met before, saying that they were posting for a CFO job. And so that was kind of like a dream for me. And so I took that was early 2016 when I started at Revolution as their CFO. And just because of all the stuff I was doing on Instagram between blogging, a lot of it, overlapped with marketing and good promotion of, what craft brewers are doing. That's kind of what I was talking about on my personal time. So I got to like kind of help marketing over the years and just like contribute little things here and there, which became more and more over the years. So eventually the chance to run the marketing department came up at the beginning of this current year. So in January, my boss said, do you want to do marketing? And we have a great up and comer underneath me on the finance side. So long-winded answer, the title, which I fumble over myself, was just like the best word our owner liked to combine finance and marketing. And really, I'm like transitioning out of finance and just helping mentor, our future finance stars along while spending most of my time doing marketing for Revolution.
Doug, it sounds badass. It
Yeah.
sounds like if you had that title anywhere else, it probably means you're waging war on somebody. Doug, who are you waging war on?
All of the acquired craft breweries that have been acquired by large macro
Good answer.
brands. Those are my enemies.
Good answer. Now, do you get more
Join the
requests-
military, buy bonds. We're fighting this war.
As a former accountant, do you get more requests for people to do their taxes? Like, do you do their taxes for them, or do you get more requests for VSOJ?
A lot of letters being said.
That is
It's a great question. Now it's VSOJ. It definitely used to be the tax thing, and that's funny you mentioned that because that is one of my least favorite things. That and when people, because I'm a hobbyist photographer, and when people diminish what it takes to take a good photo, and they're like, "Can you just whip up a few of those awesome photos?" and like it's like pulling out your cell phone.
Yeah.
That and can you help me with my taxes? I'm like, yeah, can you help me with these projects I have to do for my job?
Yeah. We had a consultant on who goes to breweries and like helps with a lot of like finances and gets a lot of like the red tape up and running, as I call it, because I'm horrible at anything finance. And he started out by saying, "I will not do your taxes," and I was like, "Well, gonna have to hang up on you because I need an accountant." So yeah, that was literally what made me think of that when you said you came from the accounting world. What has been like the most difficult one of those like either reels or TikToks that you've had to create? Because I know like positioning cameras and whatnot, when it's done well, it makes it look like it's really easy, but I can imagine it takes a ton of work. Is there one that sticks out? I was like, this was impossible to accomplish.
And how long do they take you?
So I do pride myself on typically when I do one, I've probably had it in my back pocket for a while because I try to wait for when it's most convenient to do it, just because I'm busy. I got kids, and so I try to like, I don't just like come up with the idea and then immediately start doing it, or else it would probably take me 3 times as long. But this one surprisingly didn't take that long because I think I just got lucky. But it was the one where I'm standing at a whiteboard and I'm doing the mouthing a few lines from Avengers. I forget which Avengers movie it is, but I'm speaking as Thor, where he's trying to get access into a system that's based on voice commands. So that one, it probably honestly took, I think, 4 tries.
Thor Ragnarok.
It's about like a 20 to 30 second one, but mouthing it and timing it so it looked good, because it's most fun when you just nail the lips. Like some people are lazy and just try it once, it doesn't look that good, and then it's just not as funny when their mouth isn't moving perfectly to the words.
Yeah.
That one I got lucky by the 4th try because it was really hard to nail the timing because he's making a lot of facial expressions as he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So the stars kind of aligned for me on that one. So I'd say that's definitely the one I was most proud of with how it came out, of like looking like that was actually me talking.
Yeah,
Definitely Thor Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff's a big Marvel movie buff, if you will. So.
Oh, was it from that one?
Probably, because
Okay.
that's when he was doing that, and
Okay.
I have all those movies memorized. You can call me Marvel aficionado. It's fine.
Just
I'm gonna steal it. I'm stealing that, and you can sue me for half the name, and that's fine. Bring it on, Doug.
You're just living in Doug's shadow, Jeff.
We have a team of lawyers.
No, we don't. No, we do not. No, we don't. So I guess my last question is sort of around Revolution. And I think as of 2021, you guys were, number 39 as far as like the largest craft breweries in the country.
That's wild.
Yeah, it
really
honestly
high up
is. Two Roads is the largest in Connecticut, and they're at 44. And I think I asked this. We sat down with the co-founder and the head brewer, Phil Markowski, and I believe I asked this. But as someone or a company as large as that is, when you're trying to either grow or retain year over year in sales, is it a lot of trying to get quality down pat as nailing the staples of the beers that you have? Or, and I think you kind of alluded to it, is it sort of trying to push the boundaries to set new trends in order to help drive revenue and things like that? Like, what direction does a large company like that go in?
Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is a great question. Something I think of a lot. The quality side, I think we're 11 years old now. So we had to get the quality side down a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel great about where we are there and where we've been for pretty much my whole time there. So the quality, I think we're in a good spot with kind of running itself and constantly work. Don't get me wrong. But the way I would phrase it is, I think at the state of maturity that craft beer is at, and who's buying beer, where the beer is being sold, like the majority of it, and thinking like how many those casual craft beer customers I mentioned before that are just picking beer up at the grocery store. What I think about a lot is craft beer is best enjoyed when you're enjoying it with something else as well. Not just like bottle shares where it's like the most intense craft beer customers. There's only so many. I think those people are awesome. Yes, I like to make videos about them. Yes, I am also one of them. But no, I think it's like you think about all the other things that people are similarly passionate about, like they can be with beer, things like music, things like sports, things that take people to go create a Facebook group to find like-minded people about. Finding ways for craft beer to be associated with some of those passions as well. So like one thing a big move we made for next year is we signed an agreement with the MLS soccer team. Now, we did that partially because me, the owner, and our guy who runs our social media, our communications manager, we're all just big soccer heads. Like we all grew up playing and being fans in different ways. And so because of that, the idea was extra exciting to us. If that weren't the case, we probably wouldn't have done this.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not just putting our logo on some signs. What we're doing is we're making a year-round beer with them that embraces the team's fan culture. And the can is wrapped in and looks just like the team, which looks like the Chicago City flag. And it's a big bet on the city of Chicago to match the team strategy. They used to be in the suburbs and they just moved under new ownership into the city. So we're doing this big partnership that's a combination of us rallying our fans around soccer, which we think is awesome, and them rallying the Chicago Fire fans around craft beer, which they think is awesome. And it's just a way of finding two excited groups who are excited about different things, who both think what each other does is awesome. And so, yeah, there you go.
It's sweet. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so they just rebranded that the crest that you see on the flag there. That's the team's new logo. So our beer is going to help push that out because those are what the uniforms are going to look like for next year. So this light blue is very much the city color, but I've never seen it on a beer can like we did, having a powder blue can like that. Mm-hmm. So it really pops. We're really excited about it, and we're going to make this beer and make the MLS soccer a big part of our communication strategy and get really into soccer. We're going to be tweeting back and forth with the team's account during games and cheering them on. When the team scores a goal and they post the highlight, we're going to retweet it with our own commentary on the game and just have fun with it and just show this other specific niche of people that we think what they're into is awesome. And hey, we're into it too. That's just like a really small example. And that's like the broader story of how, what we're most known for is our IPAs, which are all called heroes. Jeff, we could probably talk for hours on this, but we were invited in 2013 to be the official craft beer and sponsors of our Comic-Con. Here we call it C2E2 instead of Comic-Con. But we've made 5 comic books. We have this huge activation. This is one of the biggest things of the year we do. It's actually in 2 weeks. It's not normally in December. But this invitation to make their official craft beer back when we were a really small brewery, it actually spawned this whole riff on our original beer, Anti-Hero, into this whole, and that wasn't made with the intent of it being a comic book themed, but that's just how it went. And now everything we do is with IPAs is based around pop culture and comic books, which feeds into one of our biggest partnerships, which is Comic-Con. So again, another nerdum group of passionate people, passionate about comic art, the Marvel universe, the DC universe, WWE, everything that Comic-Con champions, cult TV shows. That's just like a world that we think is awesome and super fun.
You're the official beer of that world now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. So how long until Revolution gets their name on the stadium in which the Chicago Fire play? Because like the Staples Center changed its name to Crypto.com Arena. So when are we getting Revolution Brews Stadium? When are we getting that, Doug?
And we're gonna have to start making some NFTs, and they're gonna have to turn into like crypto punks in a hurry.
I can help you mint those. I own some cryptocurrency, so I can
this guy.
These investors, I need it to be fake. Okay, go on. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, no, that kind of marketing is unfortunately out of our league, and likely will be for a while. That's why we need to get creative and use our fans as a way to make the cost of entry possible by, we offer the teams, like we've done a sponsorship with the White Sox as well, where they see the value in what we do, whereas we don't just want our logo on a sign somewhere. We want to make this part of what we do and bring fans to the ballpark, and that's what's fun to us. So,
I get what you're saying. You don't have to say it, but US Cellular Fields can look out. That's all you need to say. I get it. I have one last question.
Go
and then this is the final question, though. This is where we end.
I was going to make a comment on NFTs, but I totally
That's
agree.
fine. So I like to end the show with a nice little segment about what's in your fridge, and it's called Doug, what's in your fridge?
This segment's actually called Doug, what's in your fridge, regardless if it's the person's Doug or not. So yeah.
So what's in your fridge, Doug?
Well, you can cut me off because I could list way too much stuff in my fridge. But my two most recent entries are. So I just got back from Sacramento, where my in-laws live and where I spent Thanksgiving. So what I do, because I'm clever like this, is California breweries ship anywhere in the state. So I have many favorite breweries that are out that way that I normally don't get access to in Chicago. So about 5 to 7 days before I leave, I'll find some places whose beer I haven't had in a while, and I'll ship them to my in-laws. Drink some of it there with my family, but always save some cans and some bottles to bring back with me. So I brought back some Pliny the Elder from Russian River. And then right before I was leaving, I saw that Firestone Walker released their black IPA called Wookie Jack.
You just posted about that.
Yeah, they used to make this. It eventually went away again. It was a year-round black IPA, and that worked in a certain time, and that time is long over. And now a black IPA cannot survive the warm months, and but it works perfectly as a one-off to bring back around this time of year when it gets a little chilly. So I was really excited to try this. That's actually what I'm drinking right now. So I brought some cans of that back with me too. So those were my two latest entries into my beer fridge, two classics.
I feel like I'm there. I just feel so immersed in that. I love it.
That's probably the best answer we're gonna have, honestly. If you have Pliny and Firestone, that's probably a good fridge to have. I've been
yeah.
But that was it for me, and that was it for Jeff. So I just want to say, if you want to follow Doug on TikTok and Instagram, it's at Beer Aficionado. BEERAFICIONADO. Had to look up how to spell aficionado. Not too afraid to admit that. And Doug, I just want to say it's been an honor having you on. Love the content, and I'm looking forward to what you guys have to post. That's all for me.
Thanks so much, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Doug.